Welcome to the SwimSwam 2025 U.S. World Trials event by event preview. I'm Coleman Hodges. I'm joined by Sophie Kaufman, Brendan Burns, and we are going through the psych sheets for the 2025 National Championships for the United States, which will also serve as the sole qualifying meet for the 2025 World Championships in Singapore. We're going through event by event and talking about it and telling you who we think will make that world champ team, who's going to Singapore. This episode of the SwimSwam podcast is sponsored by Commit Swimming, SwimSwam's exclusive team management software partner. Since 2015, Commit has been providing coaches with swimming's leading workout management software. And now, Commit has team management software too. Commit wants to help you make the switch from Team Unify to a simpler, more powerful solution. Their onboarding and customer service team will walk you through every step of the way. Check them out at commitswimming.com to book your demo today. That's COMMIT swimming.com. Thanks for being here, y'all. Let's get started right away. First event, women's 200 fly. Reagan Smith's the top seed and the American record holder. She's the top seed by almost 2.5 seconds. We got Alex Shackle, Lindsay Looney, Audrey Derivo as the next 3 seeds. I think they all have really solid chances at that. Sophie, give me your analysis on this one first. Who you got in this women's 200 fly?
Yeah, I think this event is like a really interesting example of like what the women's side of this meet looks like, because at the top you have the 2 Paris Olympians, but then if you're thinking about like who's going to fill out this final, you do start to see a lot of that turnover. Like the Texas Fly group that, dominated the NCAA for the last couple of years, like really isn't here. It's just the Texas pros. There will be a lot of turnover. So there's a lot of chances for people to move up. You've got Lucy Bell and Caroline Bricker, 6 and 7. They had a great year at Stanford, so they could really move up and be a factor in this final. Having it first, 2 years ago, we saw Lindsay Looney make the world championship team out of lane 1. So there's certainly a lot of opportunities for surprise here, but I think it's really hard to bet against Reagan Smith and Alex Shackle. We saw them in Fort Lauderdale racing Audrey Derivo, who seem like they're going to be the top 3 in this race and kind of push each other. But I think I would still go with Reagan and Alex to be the 2 representatives.
Yeah, I think it's a more straightforward event here, especially with Lindsay Looney coming off of surgery or certainly injury, I believe. She had a good showing, I think, at the Texas, the Longhorn Elite invite just a week or 2 ago. But it's harder for me to see her getting top 2, especially with Alex Shackle looking on form. Brendan, any other thoughts on that women's 2 fly?
Yeah, I agree with the top 2 picks. I think that this is one of the safer events of these trials. I think that Reagan Smith and Alex Shackle, the defending Olympians, should probably make the U.S. team. But I'm very curious to see what Audrey Derivo can throw down. She's a teen phenom. I think she's a few years away from seriously contending for a spot. But I'm also curious to see what Rachel Klinker, the 9th seed, is able to do. She was in my year, I believe, in the collegiate ranks. And she's been swimming semi-professionally for a couple of years. She was on the World Championships team in Doha last year. So I'll be curious to see if she can challenge for that second spot behind Reagan Smith.
Yeah, I think it's, again, fairly sort of open behind Reagan, but I think she's going to be a safe bet, especially with the first event. She's going to be fresh, ready to go. We'll see how it shakes out. Moving on to the men's 200 fly. Brendan, you want to give us the preview on that and give us your thoughts for who might get top 2 in that one?
This feels like Luca's event to lose. He had a phenomenal NCAAs. He had a phenomenal pro swim out in his hometown of Clovis or Sacramento area a couple weeks ago. The second spot feels like it's going to be Heilman. Feels like he's somehow been under the radar since the Olympics, but he's still been swimming very fast. He did great juniors last December. I think he's just really gearing up for this trials. And, I think he should be that second spot, but Trent Julian, Carson Foster is entered, and he has a really quick best time, but he's been known to scratch that event from the past couple of nationals. We'll see if he actually swims it. And then further down, we have Gabriel Jett, who knows what that guy's going to do. He's certainly talented enough to potentially grab that second spot, but also he might be focusing on maybe a 200 freestyle instead of this.
Sophie, any other thoughts on that 200 fly for the men?
Yeah, I agree with the top two picks. I am really interested in how Carson Foster is going to approach this meet. It's a very different schedule than what we saw at Olympic trials, where he got to kind of get over the hump and make the Paris team on the first night, and then kind of got to decide how his rest of the meet was going to go from there. He scratched a lot of events and really chose the ones that he wanted to hone in on. But here, the 400 IM is later in the meet, and actually at World Championships, it's going to be on the last day. So that means it's a very different schedule for him moving forward. And so I'm interested to see if that changes how he approaches this meet, and also it kind of being like a reset year. And on the men's side, there's a lot of opportunity for him if he wants to take it. So I'll be interested to see if he shows up and swims this race, because he can push for that second spot, I think. But I agree that Luca and Thomas Heilman are the top two picks for me.
I am with you, Sophie. Really interested to see what Carson swims here. He's entered in 5 events, both IMs, the 200 free. I think it's safe bets he'll swim all of those, especially the 200 free to get on that relay. But then he's also entered in this 200 fly and the 400 free, which we've seen him swim at a meet or two in season this year. So I am interested to see how he'll approach this meet, what events he actually ends up swimming, and if he qualifies, which events he'll actually swim at World Championships.
I think it's worth noting that for all the schedule changes that World Aquatics made in the back half of the World Championship lineup this year, the 200 IM, 200 butterfly double still exists. I think it's 200 fly final and 200 IM semis in the middle of the meet. So
that seems very interesting to me also because not only for Carson Foster, but I think we have not seen Leon Marchand swim a 200 fly at the past 2 meets he's raced at. And I feel like that's maybe why they probably looked at that schedule and was like, you're going to do 200 IM. You don't need to do maybe you can take this year off of the 200 fly because he has swam the 200 breast. He's also been training more freestyle and competing in more mid-distance freestyle. So maybe that's an indicator of, why we won't probably see Leon in that 200 fly at World Champs as well. I think we could see it take a 153 to make it in this event. I think if Luca and Thomas both, maybe swim to their potential. But as Brendan said, multiple 154s in this. Carson's been 154. Gabe Jett's been 154. You have a couple others who have made national teams like Mason Lauer, Jack Dahlgren, and Aaron Shackle. And so I think it'll be a fun race to get the meet started. But at this point, Luca and Thomas seem to have the most momentum in this event. And I think we'll see them top 2. First relay event, women's 100 freestyle. I love that we start the meet with the 100 freestyle on day 1 because it is such a riveting race and we get so many qualifiers from it. Top 4 seeds in this women's 100 free: Tori Huss, Kate Douglas, Gretchen Walsh, Simone Manuel. That was the silver medal lineup last year in Paris for the women's 400 free relay. I see them getting top 4, but curious what you think. Sophie, I'll toss it to you first. Do you think there will be any disruptors in that top 4?
Not in the top 4. I think that's a pretty safe bet. They have all looked really strong this season. Tori and Gretchen were both 52.9 in Fort Lauderdale. Kate Douglas was 3rd in that race. And then Simone Manuel 2 weeks ago, I think, at the Longhorn Invite, had her 3rd fastest swim since her comeback after Tokyo. So she is clearly on form. I think it was 53.1. And so she's moving too. I'll be interested to see if a similar, if Douglas takes that, touches first or second, like if she will then give up that spot like we saw her do last summer, and we saw Gretchen Walsh move into the individual race for the 100 freestyle. But I think those 4 are safe bets for the top 4. And then, Riley Erisman has looked so strong this season. I wouldn't be surprised to see her grab one of the relay spots.
Brendan, thoughts on this 100 free?
I agree with pretty much everything that Sophie said. I think that I could see Riley having a big drop. She's still so young. She's still one of the youngsters in this, probably going to be the A final. But I can see her taking a top 4 spot. Another one I'm very curious to see, Beta Nelson is at number 6. She's someone that's been so consistent in a multitude of events, finaling at trials for what feels like the past decade. And I don't think she's ever broken through to make a major U.S. long course team. So I'm really rooting for her to do so and maybe make this 4x1 relay.
I rooting for the same. I think that would be really cool. I think she has perhaps a couple factors maybe working against her. I don't know if Yuri is still at Wisconsin or if he's left. I know Kentucky just hired a couple coaches from the Wisconsin staff, so there might be a lot of shuffling before this trials meet, or the Wisconsin staff may have all stayed. I don't know the locations of all of them, but that's certainly not ideal for preparing for a trials meet, but Beta being a pro, I think she can probably handle that fairly well. But then also the fact that 50s of stroke are now priority 1, and we will probably see less relay only swimmers than we have in the past. I think that might affect the men's side a little bit more, but we've got that for a sink or swim later. But it could, that 5th or 6th place in the 100 free could be impacted if we don't have enough doubles on the women's side. So I think it would be really cool to see Beta finally make a team. I think she was 7th or there was a tie for 6th, if I remember correctly, at Olympic trials last year between Katie DeLoof and Erica Connolly. And then Beta finished, I think, hundredths behind them. And so she just missed out on that relay spot, and it would be cool to see her make, a gold medal meet like that. But there really is a lot of competition here, and I think we'll see maybe a surprise A finalist or two. You've got Anna Moish coming off a great freshman season at Virginia, Erin Gimmel coming off a great season at Texas, Christina Pagel coming off a great season at Indiana. Claire Weinstein is a youngster in there. She's more known for the longer freestyles. Claire Curzan is right behind her on the psych sheet. So I don't think the U.S. is going to be hurting for 100 freestyle depth on this relay. We'll just see who actually ends up getting into that A final and qualifying for the team to be able to represent the U.S. But I think, as Sophie mentioned, those top 4 all having great seasons, all look really good to represent the U.S. again. On the men's side, Brendan, I'm not as much depth as the women, I would say. Brendan, you want to give us your thoughts on this men's 100 free and how it might shake out?
Yeah, I mean, it's been covered very extensively by you guys at SwimSwam about how so many big names are missing from specifically the men's side in this event. But we're missing Ryan Held from last summer. We're missing, I don't think Blake Brony specifically made this event last summer, but he's someone that's been a name on this relay for many, many years. So it's time for the next generation of men's sprinters to step up. And I think that having Jack Alexi and Chris Giuliano swimming really, really well this past season really helps kind of give the U.S. some confidence heading into the summer, both individually in the 100 freestyle and on the relay. And I'm just very curious to see what someone like a Shane Casas can do in this event. He's a big name. He's been swimming on form all season long, kind of in a bunch of different events. Then we also have some younger guys. Henry McFadden made the world's team 2 years ago in the tuner freestyle, but he's been improving his 100 freestyle long course as of late. And I'm just really curious to see what this next gen of men's sprinting can do at this meet.
Mm-hmm. Sophie, who do you see as the front runners, I guess, behind Alexi and Giuliano, who I think are the pretty obvious top 2 picks?
Yeah, I agree. They're the top 2 picks pretty easily. And then after that, I don't know if I would call anybody necessarily a front runner, although, Brooks Curry sitting there at number 6, he made this relay for the Tokyo Olympics. And then last year he made Paris in the 4x2, I think, but not this one. So it'll be interesting to see what he can do with another year of training at Cal under his belt. And then, Kieran Smith at 8. And then you have like the ASU sprint squad kind of out in force here. After Johnny Kulo missed making the Olympic trials final and the 50 free after those 2 swim offs last year. Be really interested to see what he can do when he gets in a final. And if, there is an opportunity here for a lot of these young guys or this like next wave of sprinters to start getting some experience on an international team and like kind of grab this opportunity where you in a field where like you don't have Caleb Dressel, you don't have a lot of these guys who have been on this team for so long.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agreed. I think I still think that the U.S. is my favorite to win this relay, this 400 free relay. Again, Alexi and Giuliano had great seasons in short course. They had great Olympic games, and they were the first 2 legs on the gold medal 400 free relay in Paris that won by over a second. In 2023, they also have the experience of being on the bronze medal relay, where they were the second and third legs, and lost because Kyle Chalmers is Kyle Chalmers. But I do obviously like Alexi and Giuliano for those top 2 picks. I think Matt King has a lot of international racing experience at this point. I think we'll see him pop a 47, but then I think there's a lot of potential in this field to see some 47 high to mids. As you mentioned, Sophie, I think Johnny Kalu is due for a big long course swim. He split 39 for Bob's sake at the NCAAs on a relay. And so I think he's going to have a good meet. I think he's going to get into that A final, and we'll see what he can do. Hopefully Shane Casas kind of was talking in Fort Lauderdale about how he's kind of been stagnated in those in that 100, 200 freestyle distance and long course. He's like, I've just been going the same times over and over at pro swims. So I think he'll want to, he has a little chip on his shoulder, and we might see him pop something good there. And then Dustin Lasco, after his last NCAA season, we saw him kind of break out 2 years ago at the trials and long course. And so I think he will be hungry after missing that Olympic team, and hopefully we'll see some good swims all around in this 100 free. And yeah, I'm again, I love that we start the meet off with this, that it's day 1, because it is such a dynamic and exciting race. Women's 100 freestyle. The Katie Ledecky show.
800.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. What did I say?
100.
800. Women's 800 freestyle. The Katie Ledecky show. She just broke the world record in this. 804.12 in Fort Lauderdale. She's qualifying for this team pending disaster. Sophie, who do you have as your number 2 in this women's 800 free?
I think it's kind of boring, but I do think it has to be Julian Cox. She had such a good short course yard season for her redshirt freshman year at Texas. She was the 2-time NCAA champion in the distance freestyle events. She looked good at short course worlds, and she also has a chip on her shoulder from not making the Paris Olympic team. She'll want to show off the gains that she's made in the yards pool, in the long course, and make this team. I think this will be an interesting race for that second spot, especially since Paige Madden announced that she won't be at U.S. Nationals, which really opens up the spot after she had seemingly locked it down after such an exciting 800 free medal winning time in Paris. You've got Claire Weinstein here. It'll be interesting to see. She's obviously over-entered, so it'll be interesting to see where she puts her focus at this meet, with the 200 freestyle still to come in the schedule. And then, Katie Grimes down at 10. She's had an interesting, first few months training at Virginia. We saw her, kind of wavering about what events she wanted to do in the last day of NCAAs, whether she was going to go for the mile or a 200 stroke. She went for the mile. I don't really think it went the way that she wanted it to. So it'll be interesting to see how her distance free kind of goes in the long course format.
Brendan, your pick for number 2?
Yeah, this event doesn't have a lot of huge storyline surrounding it other than that number 2 spot. Again, boring pick. I do think it'll be Jillian Cox. She had a phenomenal NCAA season. She has a chip on her shoulder. You guys have already covered that. I am curious to see if a Kate Hurst or Mila Nikonorov, sorry if I said that name wrong, if they're able to drop some time and maybe challenge Cox for that second spot. But I do think this is a 1-2 punch of Ledecky and Cox.
Yeah, I think especially I'm going to concur. I don't have an exciting answer or a hot take there. Jillian Cox has been on fire this season. Claire Weinstein, I'm guessing she'll swim 100 free prelims, kind of see how that goes, maybe get a warm up swim. She makes the final. I'm guessing she might swim that. She doesn't. Maybe she goes for the 800 free final at night. But I don't think, pending disaster, again, Jillian Cox has been training with Bob Bowman, as well as who's Bob's assistant or associate head coach? Who's the
Eric Posgay.
Eric, as well as Eric Posgay and Carol Capitani. I think she's kind of been making the rounds, but she's had a phenomenal season. She's got, I think, confidence and experience at this point. I think Katie Grimes, who qualified for her first Olympics in 2021 in this event, would be an uphill battle for her to make this event, considering she is the 10th seed and therefore would be swimming it in the afternoon or in the morning heats and not in the final at night. So that'd be hard to qualify in the morning. Certainly making top 2. So I think that is fairly upfront and an easy wager to make. Moving on to the men's 1500 freestyle, where I think we could have an interesting race for second. Bobby Fink, obviously the perennial favorite. He is the current world record holder in this event, broke that last year in Paris. So, Brendan, your number 2 pick for this men's mile.
Yeah, I think this is, unlike the women's 800, I think this is kind of a more interesting battle for the second place spot. I think this is all about the youth. There are a lot of really young swimmers in this top 8, as opposed to what I feel for the past decade or so has been a pretty old contingent of U.S. men's distance swimming, and that's exciting. That means we have a bright future ahead of us if these guys are getting big time national final experience at such a young age. I mean, I think David Johnston's a safe bet for the number 2 pick. I wouldn't really argue with a ton of people that pick him as number 2, but I'm really looking forward to seeing what a Luke Ellis can do. He's been hot. He had a great junior Pan Pacs last summer. Charlie Clark has been on a couple world championship teams. I think this is going to be one of the better distance battles we've seen from a U.S. national meet in a long time.
Mm-hmm. Sophie?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think David Johnston is the safe pick, especially when you're looking at the psych sheet, but we also haven't seen him swim a 1500 yet long course this season. So that does kind of leave the question mark about where he's at. I think he scratched for the 800 free as well at the Longhorn Invite a couple weeks ago. So it's a big secret what he's going to bring to Indianapolis, but you know, he made the Olympic team in this event last year. And I think, you know, obviously was one of those swimmers impacted by COVID. So if he gets back on this team, that would be like a real, like, okay, let's actually show what I can do when I'm not ill. But then, you know, Luke Ellis has been pushing that 15-minute barrier. And if Johnston like isn't on 14:52 form, can really challenge, you know, and then you have like Will Mulgrew, who was a surprise finalist at trials last year. Carson Hick just had a really strong drop in the mile in yards at NCAA, so he's someone to watch. And then you have, you know, Luka Mijatovic hanging out at the 8th seed. His development has been so exciting to watch. You know, he said that he wants to make World Juniors, but if he makes, you know, he's top 8, like he'll be swimming in this final. Like, who knows what could happen? You know, I do think he's going to be on the World Junior team, but he could surprise as well and get a spot on the plane to Singapore.
It's always hard to predict surprises and surprise swims at meets like this, but we do know that there will be at least a couple. And I feel like this heat is kind of the prime time, as Brendan said, for the youth to show out and for maybe a surprise swim. I'm not saying Luka Mihatovich will make the team in this event specifically. He would have to, I think it'll take under 15 minutes to make this team. And he's seated at 15-15. So 15-15-9. So he'd have to drop a significant amount of time, but he's out there in lane 8. This is all about the race and not the time. And he could just go for it. I mean, he's kind of has the prime spot to do it, where no one will see him if he does. And again, his trajectory has been so exciting to watch, but I think that top 8 will be really exciting just to see who might make their move. I do think it's David Johnston's spot to lose. He's certainly the favorite and who I'd bet on, but if someone takes it out aggressively or really is able to execute their race plan the way they want it to and has a sensational race, I think they could take it. And again, so if you kind of laid out all the contenders who would be able to do that, but safe pick, David Johnston. But I do think it'll be fun to see if anyone kind of has that surprise swim in them. And that's day 1. Day 2, we're back to the relay swims with the women's 200 freestyle. Sophie, I'll toss this one back to you. Who do you like in this event? We've got youth, we've got wisdom, we've got age, a little bit of everything in this one.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's really hard to argue with the top 4 on the psych sheet. That's Claire Weinstein, Katie Ledecky, Erin Gemmel, and Anna Poplawski. They have all looked good this season, whether they've been racing in yards or in meters. And then from there, this is kind of going to be a real fight for the last 2 or, even 3 through 6, really, I think, with Claire Weinstein and Katie Ledecky kind of have the top 2 on lock. It's kind of take your pick. Alex Shackle and Simone Manuel are sitting there at 5 and 6. Tori Husk had a really strong swim in Fort Lauderdale to win that B final in the 157 lifetime best. So that's interesting from her. We haven't really seen her try out this event on a national stage, but this is the year to do that. And then you have the question mark about what kind of form Bella Sims is going to bring into this meet. And if she's going to be able to get back onto the senior international roster after a pretty tumultuous year.
Mm-hmm. Brendan, thoughts on this women's 200 free?
Yeah, Sophie, I like kind of like you. I like the top 3, 4 through 6 brings a lot more question marks. Anna Poplawski is coming off an NCAA title in the 200 free, so she could be due for a big drop in the long course version of this event to maybe take an individual spot because Ledecky will probably drop the 200 free individually. She usually has shown to do that. And then I am curious to see what kind of form Bella Sims is in. Had a great SECs, had a not great NCAAs. Do we know if she's moved to Michigan yet? Is she back home training in Las Vegas?
She's with the Sandpipers at the OTC right now, or
yeah,
what?
So getting some altitude training in with her club coach, coach that she's had great success under. So she could, find her way into a relay spot as well after missing the Olympics last summer.
Yeah, it's interesting. There's been a lot of discourse about the men's team, the state of the U.S. men's team, and how it'll be a very young team. It'll be a fairly inexperienced team and maybe not such a medal winning team in Singapore, whereas the U.S. women seem to be in a really great spot. And honestly, I'm not so sure that's the spot you want to be in 3 years out from an Olympics, just because we know that the team US women are great right now, but where with the men, they have 3 years to develop and kind of get momentum rolling into LA. And for the women's team, I would really love to see some younger swimmers get world champ experience now and some first time international teamers get that spot. I feel like this 200 free is a prime time to do that. So I'm looking at Riley Arisman and Maddie Mintenko at the 10 and 11 seeds. Kennedy Dobson is also the 8th seed. All junior swimmers, all would get great experience, I think, making the world junior team and swimming there. But to me, if one of them makes this team in this event, and again, relay only swimmers in question because of those stroke 50 priorities, I think it'd be a good time for them to get some international experience on the senior level and get them started racing earlier at a big kid world champs so that they have that experience a couple years down the line when they're vying for LA 2028 spots. Men's 200 freestyle. Again, people aren't so high on the men's team, but I think this relay looks very good. It seems like it's in a really good spot, perhaps as good as it's been in the last 5 to 8 years. Brendan, what do you make of this men's 200 free field?
Yeah, I mean, over the last year, it's been Luke Hobson's world, and we're just living in it in terms of the 200 freestyle, at least domestically. I think he's someone that is definitely in line to potentially break out and win an individual long course gold medal this summer. And then behind him, I mean, Giuliano, there's really no reason to think that he won't make at least the relay, if not the individual spot. And Kieran Smith, he's been a mainstay. Hasn't quite been at the height he was around the Tokyo era that he's been at recently, but I think he's a pretty safe bet to make this relay. Everyone's favorite, Grant House, is in the A spot. He has yet to make a major international team, and he's been looking pretty good at the pro swims. I don't know. We'll see what he can do at this trials in Indianapolis.
What a story that would be if Grant House made an international team. Wow. Sophie, thoughts on this men's 200 free?
Yeah, it would be quite a story. I mean, this, like you said, Coleman, it's really interesting to look at this event because you've got the obvious candidates kind of up at the top, and then you start looking down the psych sheet and you've got a bunch of swimmers who have been on these international rosters. You know, Aaron Shackle down there at 12th, Baylor Nelson and Henry McFadden, 14 and 15, have both made the World Championship team in this relay before. Will they be able to kind of climb up the psych sheet and do that again? You have Rex Maurer sitting at 10th. He's been just kind of flying high for like the last 6 months. It feels like, you know, he's trying to make his first senior international team. Is this going to be the event where he does it, or is the kind of 400, 800 free really going to be where he pops? Like, but with how well he's been swimming, it wouldn't be surprising to see him grab a relay spot. You know, then Carson Foster and Shane Casas, who he's been training with. Like this, it's a very interesting event. And then you kind of look at, well, what are each of these swimmers, you know, trying to accomplish like at these world championships? Like, are they just trying to make the team, trying to add events and like kind of assert themselves and become a more significant part of the roster with all the absences that are that we've already talked about? Like, this could be a really big meet for Shane Casas. You know, he made the Paris Olympic team, and now he's in a really strong position to qualify in multiple events and kind of step up and like be a leader on this world championship team.
Agreed. I think there's a lot of compelling storylines in this 200 free all the way down the list. I'm looking at Maximus Williamson, the 41st seed. You know, he is not eligible for junior teams this year because he's turning 19. So he, you know, world champs is kind of his only shot, although I guess he might be eligible for WUGS. And so never mind what I just said, but it would be really cool to see him kind of break out. His better shot might actually be in the 100 freestyle, where he's seated higher. He's only 150.3 seated in the 200 free, even though he's been 130 short course. But we've also often seen the short course 200 free translate better to the long course 100 free. But there's a lot of guys who could have good swims and get their names on that team, or again, maybe on a WUGS team or even a world junior team, depending on their age. But you're looking at the top there: Luke Hobson, Chris Giuliano, Kieran Smith, Brooks Curry. I'm not so sure where Jake Mitchell is right now. I don't think he had a great NCAA season this year. He missed the Olympic team in 24 last summer. But then you've got Carson Foster and Shane Casas, and like, I feel pretty dang good about those 6. 3 of them were on the final last year that got second to Britain. And I feel solid about US's chances going head to head against Britain at this point. Tom Dean doesn't look like he's had the best season. Duncan Sott, Matt Richards seem to be on form. James Guy is having a complete resurgence of his career. But, I think we've got enough guys trending upwards that who we do end up putting on that team, which I think will be some combination of four of those those six names I mentioned. It's going to be a solid race. Women's 200 breaststroke. I think it's hard to argue against these top two. We've got Kate Douglas at 219, the defending Olympic champion. We've got her teammate Alex Walsh at 222.3. And we've got their teammate from Virginia, Leah Hayes, in third seed at 227.6. There are some compelling storylines, and I'll let you guys maybe mention a few other names, but I think this race, if it goes to plan, pretty cut and dry. Alex Walsh and Kate Douglas have both expressed interest in this event, and I think they are the two names to watch for in terms of qualifying. Sophie, anyone else you're interested to see in this race?
Yeah, I really agree, especially with Lily King not entered in this event. This would be it's really hard to make the case for anybody else to out-touch the top two names, right? They've looked so good. They're so far ahead of the field. UVA has 4 of the top 8 seeds with Emma Weber down there at 7. There are like interesting swimmers to watch. Lucy Bell coming off of that NCAA title will be really interesting to see how she goes. But like you said, it's just so hard to argue with the top two. They've looked great this season, and their lifetime bests put them way out in front of the pack.
Yeah. Brendan, any other names to throw out there?
Yeah, the very famous breaststroke U of the University of Virginia for the top 8 seeds there. So, I really don't disagree with Kate and Alex going 1-2. Kate, the defending Olympic champion, the American record holder, seems like it's her race to lose. And then looking through the psych sheet, a lot of 03, 04, 05, 06, some 2010, which is insane. And then looking down at the 13th seed, we see a 77 for a fan favorite from trials last summer, Gabby Rose. So could she sneak into an A final and get the crowd juiced up once again? Because she's pretty realistically old enough to be a few of these kids' moms. So, excuse me.
No, yeah, absolutely. Always cool seeing Gabby Rose not only compete, but yeah, still doing it at a very, very high level. About an elite level. Talk about a resurgence of a career. She's, kind of completely rebuilt herself, swimming breaststroke at trials once again. So going to be fun to see how she does. But yeah, those top 2 spots seem pretty locked in at this moment. Moving on to the men's 200 breaststroke, completely different story. Sophie, give me your thoughts on this wide open men's 200 breaststroke field.
Oh boy. Well, still like on the psych sheet, AJ Pouch and Joth Matheny 1-2. They are so far ahead of the rest of the field. Nobody else is seated with a time faster than 2:11. So especially given that Matt Fallon isn't racing this summer, I think that those two are looking good for the top 2 spots. Matheny has just been on a rise, I think since 2022, really, qualifying for World Championships and then the Olympics. This is kind of his moment to really take over the breaststroke events this year, especially, with like Nick Fink not in the 100 breaststroke as well, or just not here at this meet. Other than that, there's certainly some interesting candidates. I'll let Brendan talk about Indiana, so he can do that. But, you have some really interesting junior names here: Jordan Willis, Gabe Nunziata. It would be interesting to see them kind of get that final experience. I don't think that they're necessarily in a position to really challenge for the top 2 unless there's like some big disaster, but racing in this final, qualifying for a World Junior team, like that's a strong bit of summer experience for them.
Mm-hmm. Brendan, give us the IU breakdown.
Yeah, the other breaststroke U is pretty well represented here in the top 16 or so. We have Josh Matheny, commit Josh Bay, successor in Josh's role on the team and in name. Then we have the People's Champion, Jason Yep. And then further down, we have Charlie Egland, who's better known representing Yale, but he is training in Bloomington this summer. I think it's AJ and Josh Matheny's race, but Josh Bay is someone that's been on a pretty fast ascent to the top of the breaststroke ranks in the U.S. I could see him taking one of those top two spots as well. Jason, I know, has been locked in since NCAA's and the swim of his life, winning that 200 breaststroke NCAA title. So I don't think this is quite as open as the 100 breaststroke is. I do think that AJ and Matheny are the favorites here, but it's not quite signed, sealed, and delivered.
If we get another Jason Yep surprise win, I'm going to eat my shorts. That'll just be too good, too perfect, certainly more than we deserve as swim fans in one season, year, 3 months, quarter. Yeah, seriously. So certainly looking at those swimmers, just a couple other names I'm kind of keeping an eye on. 6th seed Ben Delmar had a great season at UNC. I think he seeded at 2:11.8. I think he could certainly make an A final, but the UNC men had a great ACC meet, carried that momentum into NCAA's. I think he could make some noise in that. 10th seed Nate German-Prey, again, great season with Texas. I think was top 2 or 3 in that 100 breast, and then won the B final in the 200 breast. We haven't seen him do much in long course, so I think he might be able to have a big drop, especially after his first season with Bob Bowman. And then Jake Eccleston of Louisville is right under Nate at the 11th seed. He broke the 17-18 nag at ACCs in the 200 breast yards this season. Freshman season with Louisville, again, just had a breakout season. I think he was in the A final at NCAA's as well. So looking at those names just as potentials to maybe disrupt something. AJ Pouch, Josh Matheny, no arguments from me, but it could happen. We could see some surprises.
I'd also like to give another shout out. We didn't really talk about him much in the 200 Fly because I believe he's better in the 200 breaststroke. Tommy Breed of Louisville. He famously did a dirty double at Olympic trials last summer. He does not have to double this time at World Trials, but he's someone that could make an A final. I think more so in this 200 breaststroke than the 200 Fly.
Oof. Yeah. God, 200 Fly, 200 breast double. Him and Leanne Marchand.
He did it.
Just rocking it. That's awesome. All right, moving on to another 200, the women's 200 backstroke. Again, we've got one woman who seems like the perennial favorite, Reagan Smith, American record holder, once former world record holder. And then behind her, I think we've got a lot of interesting competition. Sophie, who do you like for that number 2 spot in the 200 back?
Yeah, like we were saying earlier, I think it's really hard to pick surprises, and it's really hard to kind of go against the grain. But I don't know, like Audrey Darvo, like 206 in season is no joke. And is she 15 yet, or is she still 14?
She's 15.
Okay.
I think she's turning 16 this year.
Yeah, well, she's still very young. She will be pushing, I think, for a world championship spot here and in the 200 Fly. And I think she'll get one of them done. And I think it's more likely to happen here, even though you could argue that the field is deeper in the 200 backstroke than it is in the 200 butterfly, just because you've got Olympian Phoebe Bacon, Olympian Claire Curzan trying to get back on a senior international team. Kennedy Noble, Ryan White, like there's a lot of names here, but I think she'll get it done. And I think she'll be on the playing scene for
Audrey Darvo. I like it. Brendan, number 2.
Yeah, it's kind of nuts to think about Audrey Darvo's rise as a butterflyer. Then all of a sudden she pops this 206, 200 backstroke, and she immediately throws herself into contention in this event, maybe over her primary butterfly events, which she was able to win at Junior Pan Pacs last summer. I like Reagan Smith at number 1. I like Phoebe Bacon at number 2, but it's not going to be a given. I think Phoebe's going to have to have a great race to get that number 2 spot. Specifically, I think some of the Wolfpack women are going to really want to make a name for themselves in this final. Kennedy Noble and Ryan White. Ryan White, she's not had the past couple of summers that she's wanted to. Maybe she has a chip on her shoulder from not making a couple international teams, and she'll be wanting to reclaim her spot behind Reagan Smith. But I think it's going to be one of the better races of the meet.
That Wolfpack women's backstroke core is just kind of disgusting right now. You've got Kennedy Noble, Ryan White, Catherine Burkhoff, and Leah Shackley all entered in this event, all three of them in the top 8, and all training together. It's what a beast of a practice I'm sure they have. Phoebe Bacon, kind of, I think, surprised a few people by making the Olympic team once again last summer in that 200 backstroke. She's been pretty consistent on the international level, and especially in that long course 200 backstroke. Again, shakeups with the Wisconsin coaching staff. I'm not sure if Yuri is still in Madison or has made his way to Colorado Springs at this point. But Claire Curzan seems to be doing well at Virginia. Her backstroke has certainly taken off, and she just missed making qualifying for that Paris Olympic team last summer after having a really good showing at the Doha World Championships in February last year. Again, just missed out to Phoebe Bacon. I do like the Audrey Derivo pick, just because I think it's a youngster's year. This is the time for those young guns who are really hungry and who obviously didn't make an Olympic team to show, I'm improving a lot. I'm on the rise and I can get my hand in the top 2. So I like one of those 3. I'm not gonna, I'm not gonna. I like Audrey Derivo, honestly. I think she's gonna have a good meet, and like you said, Sophie, between 2 fly, 2 back, I think she gets on this team, and I want to see her get on that team again, just so she gets some international experience on the senior level. Men's 200 back. Not a lot going on here. Actually, that's not true. We've got 2 154s on the psych sheet, which is impressive, really impressive to me, because it didn't take much more than that to win the gold medal in Paris. 154.2 was the winning time in Paris. Brendan, who do you like for this men's 200 back, which, again, we'll probably see some new names, but that doesn't mean there's a lack of experience and or medal opportunity there.
Yeah, we touched on the people missing from this meet earlier in this segment, but I think the biggest storyline in this men's backstroke is that it is Jack Aiken's time to shine after 2 heartbreaking third-place finishes last summer. He had the swims of his life, but unfortunately, that's just the way that Olympic trials goes. I think it's his year. I think he has a great chance to win this. Keaton Jones is obviously also there as well. He was the runner-up to Ryan Murphy last summer, so I think it's a toss-up between the 2 of them. I'm also looking at Daniel Deal. He finaled in the 200 freestyle last summer. Did he final in this event as well?
I think he finaled in this and made semis in 200 free.
Yeah. So he had a strong meet last summer. I think he was 3rd place in this event at this meet 2 years ago. So he's someone that's been dancing around making a major international team for a couple of years. So we'll be looking to see what any of these young guys behind Keaton Jones and Jack Aikens can do. Tommy Jansen from Notre Dame as well. He was strong at trials last summer and at trials 2 years ago. And then we also have an interesting entry, Kieran Smith in 5th. Do we think that Kieran is going to end up swimming this event, or do we think he's going to scratch it?
Yeah, I think probably scratch. It's the same day as the 200 free.
That's what I was thinking.
And so this seems like a classic Florida over enter safety entry. So I don't really see him swimming it. And if he does, Kieran is a very versatile athlete. We see him swim the 200 IM a lot, even internationally once or twice. But I don't really see him taking this one too seriously.
I agree.
Yeah.
I mean, it is interesting though, because Keaton Jones and Kieran Smith, they're the top 2 Americans this year with their 157 threes. So he's put his name in the ring. I agree. I don't think he's actually going to swim it, but it is a really interesting entry to think about.
Mm-hmm. Destin Lasco is entered in this event at 32nd seed at a 136.4 yards time. So I think this is an event that a lot of people have wanted to see Destin Lasco break out in long course. to me, I feel like the reality is it just might not happen. He seems to have put more eggs in the freestyle basket. He certainly did last summer at Olympic trials when he scratched the 200 backstroke to focus on the 100 freestyle and subsequently got 7th or 8th in the final, which was heartbreaking, but has happened to someone. Keaton Jones, top seed in this. He got 5th at the Olympics last summer, so he certainly has the international experience. Jack Aikens worries me a little just because he didn't seem to have the best season in short course this year. It was his senior year. I don't know how the 2 third places at Olympic trials affected him. Would love to see him bounce back and make this world champ team this summer. Again, as everyone said, he's got the times to kind of take that next step and become, certainly for this summer at least, America's primary backstroker. It's interesting that obviously Ryan Murphy is not here. Shane Casas has strayed away from this event in long course, at least. He's not even entered in it. And so again, it seems like it is the time for some new talent to step up and shine. I'm really interested also to see how Jack Aikens' teammate and training partner, David King, will swim. He's the 7th seed in this. Just finished his freshman year at Virginia. Had a phenomenal freshman year at Virginia. Believe he scored at NCAAs. Certainly a big player at ACCs, and so I think he could certainly make a final. But he's been on a roll this year, and I think it'll be interesting to watch him as well. All right, I believe. I don't know if the 50 Fly is on day 2 or 3. Next event, women's 50 Fly. Gretchen Walsh, top seed, 24.93, American record, U.S. Open record. Behind her, you've got Kate Douglas at 25.3, and then Beta Nelson at 26.2. We also got Tori Husk, Leah Shackley, Charlotte Crush in there as well. I like how some people are entered with 50 fly times, but most people are entered with 100 fly times. Usually you would normally just enter with 100 fly times, but I think just because we've seen them been swim at pro swims a little bit more, and I'm guessing the emphasis on Olympic or stroke 50s now that they're Olympic events. If Kate and Gretchen both swim this, I think they kind of got it. But any other names you're looking forward to in this event, Sophie?
Yeah, I mean, Tori Husk is the 2nd fastest American woman in the event history. Douglas almost got her with her 25.3 in Fort Lauderdale, which was what kind of was overshadowed by Gretchen Walsh going 24.93 and blowing everybody's minds with that time. And I think it's hard to argue, I do think the 50 Fly is the last event on day 2, which means that Douglas is set up for a 200 breaststroke 50 Fly double. But whatever, she's done a tougher double. So if she wants to swim this, I think that isn't going to be a huge issue for her. So I'd say Tori Husk would be my main pick to get that number 2 spot. And then we've talked about Beta Nelson. She's right here in the 3rd seed again. Is she going to be able to kind of get over the hump and make a team? I think that she's got maybe a better shot in an event like the 100 free where there is a relay, and so they'll be taking more people, especially with Gretchen kind of locking up that 1st seed. But she'll be in the mix. She'll be there.
Brendan, any other names to look for in this women's 50 Fly?
Yeah, I mean, I think this is the Gretchen Walsh show. Right behind her, Kate Douglas is probably the number 2 spot if she swims it. But I mean, Tori, I think for the number 2 spot, it's a toss up between Kate and Tori. I just think that they're leagues ahead of everyone in an event that's so short, which is pretty insane to think about. I think this is going to be a pretty compelling final. All 50s are crapshoots, no matter how good you are at the 50s. But yeah, I think it's just kind of a 3-woman show for 2 spots.
Yeah, no, I agree with you guys. I think those 2 spots have those 3 women's name all over that, however it shakes out. And if Kate does decide to do that double, Brendan, let's take us right to the men's 50 Fly. Who do you like here? With I think a lot of compelling names who could get their hands in that top 2 finish.
I agree. A lot of compelling names. Shane has kind of been the most consistent men's 50 flyer in the past couple of years, but we have to go look at Dari Rose to go find our last world's medalist in this event from 2 years ago. Kind of a surprise bronze medal in the 50 fly, but it was a huge sum for him. Dari had a great NCAA season. I'm kind of expecting him to make at least one or two events in the 50, 100, maybe even 200 fly. So I like him and Shane, but also Heilman is in this event. I don't know if he quite has the top end speed to take this 50 spot, but I think he's certainly in the game for the 200 and the 100 fly. And then everyone's favorite, again, Michael Andrew sitting in ninth. An event he's medaled in at Worlds previously, hasn't had an amazing season with the ASU men training there, but again, he could just be saving up for a big trials meet. He's medaled in this event before at Worlds. I would not be surprised if he made this team in this event.
Sophie, names you're looking for in that men's 50 fly?
Yeah, I agree. I think I'd go with Shane Casas and Dari Rose. You know, Rose missed the Olympic team last year after winning those medals at World Championships, so he'll be eager to get back on the team. His sprint speed is clearly moving. He was 50.9 at the Speedo Grand Challenge, I think last weekend or a couple weeks ago. So he's clearly feeling good, feeling on form. I think when you're looking at who else could be in the final, I think it's really exciting to see Aiden Hayes back at number 5. He's been out for the whole year with a fractured wrist and kind of got back in the competition pool for the first time this month. So it'll be really interesting to see what he can bring. And then Kamal Muhammad as well has looked really strong throughout the pro swims, has announced that he is transferring to Tennessee. They're good at sprinting, so I don't think he's there yet. That's a hot take that you can repeat. I'm fine with that. But so it'll be interesting to see what he can bring in a final as well.
Yeah, I think we could. There's definitely potential to see some fun names in this final. And again, it's such a short event that I think, especially on the men's side, there could be some surprises into who makes it into that top 8 from prelims. But I think Michael Andrew is going to show some definite speed here. Again, as you said, Sophie, Aiden Hayes could I think he could challenge for a spot as well as Andrew. But Dari Rose has a PB of 22.7 from World Champs 2 years ago. And again, his best, I think, is 50.4 in the 100 and going 50.9 a couple weeks ago or last week. I think him and Shane look really good as the top 2 favorites. Luca Orlando is in there. Well, he's been on a tear, but I don't know that he quite has the speed to get his hand in for a top 2 finish in the 50. On to day 3, women's 400 IM. Sophie, I'll toss this one to you. Again, it seems like there's two favorites if you look at the psych sheet, but you know, if we take a wider look, we might have a different story on our hands.
Yeah, I think Emma Wyant really announced herself as the favorite after her Fort Lauderdale swim. And so I think she's kind of, barring another DQ scandal, kind of got this on lock. This was sewn up, I feel like, at Olympic trials last year with Grimes and Wyant, but it feels a lot more open for that second spot this year. I think that if Grimes is going to make this world's team, this is her best chance to do it. But then you still have like the young swimmers who are going to be pushing her. Kayla Hahn is here at 4. Audrey Derivo, like, really made headlines last year at trials when she made this final, like, as a young swimmer. So this is another event that she could, try and make some noise in. So it'll be interesting to see those young swimmers kind of push Katie Grimes, who was once that young swimmer pushing the veterans, and now she's kind of taken that, she's graduated into that role. And it'll be interesting to see how she handles that, especially after, all the training changes that she has been working with this semester.
Mm-hmm. Brendan, any other names that stick out for you?
Yeah, I agree. I'd probably pick Wyant to win this event. Katie Grimes, tough to go against someone that won the Olympic silver medal last summer, World Championship silver the year prior. But we've kind of discussed that her NCAA season wasn't quite what we're used to seeing from her. I'm looking at the Stanford Cardinal that are in the psych sheets. Lucy Bell and Caroline Bricker is someone that maybe could take that second spot. They had great NCAA seasons, and they maybe look to translate that into long course.
Yeah, I was looking at that Stanford duo as well. I think they could certainly make a final and maybe make some noise. I think between those two and Leah Hayes, I think they could definitely give Grimes a run for her money for that second spot behind Emma Wyant. Moving on to the men's 400 IM, we got a couple of good old Texas boys in the top two seeds. Carson Foster at 407. Behind him is Rex Maurer at 413. And behind him is Bobby Fink at 413 as well. We saw Bobby slay the dragon, take down Leon Marchand in the 400 IM at Fort Lauderdale. He is swimming this event at trials, but he did say that if he makes the team in this event, he will not swim it at Worlds. Womp womp. So we're not counting him. I mean, and honestly, Rex was the NCAA champion in this event this year. He's thrived under Bob Bowman at Texas. I think that's his second spot to lose behind his teammate. We got Tommy Breed from Louisville in third seed at 4:15.0. Kieran Smith entered. See if he swims it at 4:15.1. And we could have some others make some noise, but to me at this point, I'm really excited to see a Rex Maurer long course 400 IM at trials, and he looks pretty good to make his first Worlds team in this. Brendan, any other thoughts on this?
Yeah, I agree with what you said. I think Carson and Rex are pretty safe picks. Tommy Breed, I could really see he doesn't have to drop a ton of time to maybe challenge for that second spot. I'm going to throw someone out who's the 36th seed who recently relocated to Austin, Texas, Baylor Nelson. So he made the Worlds team 2 years ago in the 800 freestyle relay. Maybe better known as a 400 IMer. That's what he was known as an age grouper. And he's someone that kind of difficult to predict what he can do in those early heats, but he's someone that really could realistically a final and then potentially challenge for that second spot on the team.
I love that. Sophie, any other names to throw out there?
Yeah, I mean, I guess maybe not so much to like make the team, but I think would be an interesting pick to land in the final. Mitchell Schott from Princeton. He had a really great yard season. He made NCAAs. He's, he was really versatile, like from the 200 free, the IMs, the 200 fly. So I'm interested to see, him and Eleanor Sun from Princeton were two really interesting names to watch from the mid majors throughout the short course season. So now, Eleanor Sun, she looked really good at Fort Lauderdale too. So I'm interested to see what they'll bring to Indianapolis.
The Ivy's making some noise. I like it. All right. Moving on to the women's 100 fly, where so it's the poll on SwimSwam right now. I think this is the deepest event in the U.S. currently, especially compared to the rest of the world. Sophie, kick us off for this one. I know maybe the picks are straightforward, but the depths certainly is not.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, I think it is hard to argue with the gold and silver medalists from Paris last year. And then Gretchen just went 54.6. But, this was a really exciting race at trials last year. Reagan Smith, did almost outtouch Tori Husk. I think she was a 10th back. And so it's really exciting to see her back in this race. And even if, we feel like there are two clear favorites, like Reagan and, Alex Shackle, Leah Shackley's here, then Audrey Darvaux, Charlotte Crush, like all these names are going to push these swimmers and make this final exciting, even if it seems like at first glance, the top two are pretty sewn up.
Good Lord. I forgot Gretchen Walsh went 54.6. That's disgusting. It's just diabolical. Sorry, just had to throw that out there. That's the world record, 54.6. Yeesh. Brendan, any other names to look for you in this women's 100 fly?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think that Tori Husk is at risk of missing this world championship team, but if she's not careful, I think Reagan Smith could take that second spot. She is also just as elite at the 100 fly. Obviously, Tori's a gold medalist, and it would be absolutely no surprise if she made the team. But sometimes trials has a funny way of leading to outcomes that you would not expect, or maybe outcomes that shouldn't even happen. If we were a country that had auto bids for world championships, then it feels like this event might not even be contested because we have in 2 different swimmers, we have the Olympic gold medalist and the world record holder. And why would you want to risk that? But that's what's great about U.S. swimming is that it's completely cutthroat and competitive all the time. You've got to be on your best all the time at these national meets. And this is definitely my pick for race of the meet just because of what happened at trials last summer. That was one of the most incredible, electrifying swims I've ever seen live. Only if, between the few of us, we've probably only seen a few world records witnessed live, and that had to have been one of the most exciting. So I don't know. I'm picking Gretchen and Tori, but watch out for Reagan.
Do you think if she qualified for it, Reagan would swim this event?
Tough to say. I mean, she would. I don't want to say, this is all hypothetical. I'd like to think she'd be a guarantee for a final. Medaling, probably. Yeah. So I think she would want to swim it, but that's putting the cart before the horse. We can do that in the review, not the preview. So.
Sophie?
Yeah. I mean, it's interesting. Like, she would have a clash. I have the world schedule up. She would have a clash on day 2, the women's 100 Fly final and the women's 100 backstroke semis, provided she makes the team in the women's 100 back, which I think she will. I mean, Reagan's not scared of a double, so maybe, but she'll have to get on the team in the 100 Fly first.
Certainly, yeah. It's just interesting to think about if she would swim it because, like, Zhang Yufei was 56.2 for bronze last summer, and Zhang Yufei ain't swimming this year. So her only competition, Reagan's only competition in the 100 Fly, if she qualified in this event, would be her teammate. And, whoever qualifies in the other spot. And like the 100 Back, she certainly got some other competition from other countries. So it's like on paper, it's like, would she give up the 100 Back for the 100 Fly if she made it? It's just kind of interesting to think about. But I do think it'll be Gretchen and Tori. Gretchen is so far ahead and just continuing to grow in long course. Tori is a racer and she lives for moments like this. So I think it'll be those two, but we shall see. Men's 100 Fly, which should be a really great race. Brendan, kick us off for this one. Who do you like?
Yeah, I think there are a couple different names that have real threats to take the 2 spots. I think all 4 of the top guys, Thomas Heilman, Shane Casas, Dari Rose, and Luca. I don't know. I mean, I think Shane's a pretty safe bet to win. He's been on form, and I don't think there's. I think he's on until further notice watch, where we're just going to believe in him until something crazy happens, barring disaster. I think he's a great pick to win, but then behind him, I mean, I have no idea. I mean, these guys, Dari Rose was sensational 2 summers ago, made the world championship team, but last summer missed the Olympic team in this event. Luca's been on form in the 200 Fly. His 100 Fly long course is also incredible, but maybe not quite what he's known for. I'm going to go with Shane and Dare. I don't really feel great about it because those other 2 guys could very easily throw a wrench in my plans, but it's going to be another great race, maybe the best race on the men's side.
Absolutely. Sophie, what are your plans look like for this event?
Yeah, I mean, I think it'll be really exciting as well. The top 3 are separated by 400ths. So, it's not exciting in the same way as the women's race where you're on world record watch, but it is exciting to see who, of those top 4 is going to be able to get their hands on the wall in the top 2 spot because I don't know. I think I agree with Brendan. It's really hard to argue with the Shane Casas pick. He's looked so strong. And then behind him, I guess I would also lean Dare because of the 50.9, but then I don't feel great about leaving Heilman off the roster in this event. Like, I think he'll get there in the 200 Fly. We talked about that, but he's also looked really good. So I don't love it, but I think I would also go with Shane and Dare.
Yeah, I mean, I that would be my pick as well, just because I think they just have a little more. Shane and Dare have a little more speed than Luca and Thomas. They're Shane and Dare are also both great 200 butterflyers, and so it's like that they all kind of have that ability to finish, but having that just little more of speed for Shane and Dare, I do think put them over the top for me. Thomas is still young. Luca seems a little more focused on that 200, but it will be a great race. But I'm with you all. I think Shane and Daria are my official picks. Women's 50 breast is up next. Skylar Smith of UNC is top seed at 30.4. She won this event at the Fort Lauderdale Pro Swim, had a great celebration for that win there. We've got Lily King and Emma Weber, the two 100 breaststrokers from Paris last summer. Mackenzie Soroki is a great breaststroker, coming off a great season at Tennessee. And then you've got that UVA duo of Kate Douglas and Alex Walsh, who I don't think we've seen either of them swim the 50 breast at a trials meet, let alone at an international meet. I'm not going to bet against Lily King making the team because that would be foolish. And according to her, this could be her swan song in terms of certainly this quad. But she said she isn't going for LA 28. And so she said she kind of wanted to retire by 2026, I think it was. So she's not swimming the 200. She's focusing on the shorter breaststrokes. I think she makes it in this event. And if Kate Douglas swims it, I'm afraid to bet against her, honestly. I think she's got speed. I don't know about breaststroke, but I think if she swims it and she wants to compete in this event, I like Kate Douglas's chances. Sophie, what do you think?
I agree. I'm not going to start betting against Lily King in this event. She's the American record holder. She has been sub 30 at every qualification meet for at least the last 5 years that, every time this event is up. So I think that she'll get the job done here. And then it is such a crapshoot. I mean, I'm not quite ready to say that I think it's going to be Mackenzie Soroki, but the 30.68 at the Tennessee invite is no joke. That was a big lifetime best for her. She's looked so good. She made the Olympic trials final last year in the 100 breaststroke, had a great year at Tennessee. Skylar Smith is right on her lifetime best. And Emma Weber is back out in force now that we're back in long course. So I think it will be Lily King and Skylar Smith. But again, I don't feel great about that, especially if Kate Douglas is in the pool. We saw Alex break 31 and go 30.9 in Fort Lauderdale. I don't think Kate swam it there, but you have to believe that she has a sub 31 second 50 breaststroke in her, and that puts her in the mix with the other top names.
Brendan, thoughts on this one?
Yeah, I definitely say this event has a lot more questions than answers. Looking at that top 8, I could even see Piper Engie. She's still so young. She had a great year at Texas. She could somehow find a way onto that team. I'm never going to bet against Lily. I'm kind of with you guys. She's been so consistent for so long, especially in the 50 and 100 breaststroke. I like her. After her, I'm going to go with the hockey player, Mackenzie Soroki. I don't know. That could be totally wrong, and we'll see what happens. But I'm going to go with Lily and Mackenzie Soroki.
Hey, Sophie.
Stanley Cup Finals starting soon. It's on theme.
Yeah.
Sophie said it. Tennessee, good at sprinting.
Yep.
And I don't think anyone would deny it at this point. Men's 50 breast. Ooh, we got a Brian Benzing showing. That's exciting. We got Michael Andrew as the only person seated with a 50 breast time. He's top seed at 27.01. And then, we have Indiana's Brian Benzing at 001, seated with 100 time. Wow, the field seems pretty wide open after that. Brendan, I'll toss this one to you first. Who do you see behind Michael Andrew, or perhaps even in front of Michael Andrew?
Yeah, I do. I don't know if Michael Andrew if he doesn't make the team in this event, I don't know what to say at that point. I don't really know if there's going to be a better shot for him to make the team than in this event. He's someone that has medaled in this event at Worlds. He's been pretty breaststroke heavy for most of his career, and it seems like he's been doing pretty well compared to his other events in the breaststroke during the season at ASU. But then I'm going to pull for my guy, Brian Benzing. He's someone that's just been on a tear. Didn't quite have the NCAA season that he wanted, but now that he's been a professional and he can really focus on that 1500 breaststroke, I like him. But also it's going to be a great field with Campbell McKean, the youngster headed to Texas. I think he's someone that could sneak in for that second spot. Nate German-Prey, someone that he's probably a little better at the 100 than 50, but he's someone that just has that length. I like him if it's a close finish to get his hands on the wall for that first or second spot. But I'm going to pull for Michael Andrew and Brian Benzing here.
Sophie, who do you like?
Yeah, I agree that like the top pick, like you have to think that Michael Andrew is going to win this event, or like Brendan said, like what is even going on? His lifetime best and his season best are so far ahead of the rest of the field that it would be absolutely ridiculous if he did not qualify for world championships in this event. And then behind him, it is kind of a crapshoot. It's definitely, I think, saying it's an open field is a very nice way to put it, but it just leaves a lot of opportunity for like someone to like have a great swim at the right moment and make their first world's team. I kind of like Campbell McKean for that. He looked really good in Fort Lauderdale. He's from a bunch of personal bests, and his sprint breaststroke, I think, is coming into form at the right time to qualify for this world's team in a breaststroke field that is like one of the least deep that we've seen in a long time.
Yeah, no, absolutely. One other name I'll throw out there, Benjamin Kono, representing the Olympic Club at, I think, 28 or 29 years old. He's the
Loyola legend.
Loyola legend. Oldest entry in this field, only other swimmer born in the 90s, aside from Michael Andrew. I don't know that he will necessarily make the team in this event, but be awesome to see him final. And Sophie, like you said, prime opportunity for someone to have the right swim at the right time and maybe make their first world's team. All right, next up, we got a ton of 50s on this day. 50 backstroke on the women's side. To me, this one is fairly cut and dry. We got Catherine Burkhoff and Reagan Smith in the top two seeds. Certainly the women's backstroke field is deep as can be and not something to shake your head at. But to me, Burkhoff and Reagan have really asserted themselves as the top two backstrokers here. Sophie, any other names to look for or thoughts on this event?
Yeah, I agree that they're the top two, the American record holder and the former American record holder, both 27-1 lifetime bests, hard to argue with. We talked about the Wolfpack backstroke squad when we talked about like the 200 back a little earlier, and here they all are again. So, we could see a very Wolfpack heavy final with Ryan White, Leah Shackley, Kennedy Noble. I think those would be the names to watch. And then, Claire Curzan at number 4, we've been talking about it. She won all 3 backstrokes at the 2024 World Championships and has really put all her eggs in the backstroke basket for this meet after, she was really successful in backstroke in short course yards. So it'll be interesting to see if she can unseat one of the top two. The 50s are a crapshoot and you have to be at your best, even if you're Reagan Smith or Catherine Burkhoff to qualify. But I think that they're pretty safe top 2 picks.
I'm trying to find a way to combine backstroke and basket, and I can't do it. So if you can, let me know. Brendan, any other thoughts on this 50 back?
Yeah, I agree. Not a super wide open event. I do think it's going to be Catherine and Reagan Smith. I think this is Claire's best shot to make the team. The defending world champion from 2024. I think the path is a lot murkier in the 100 and the 200 backstroke. So if she was to get on the team, she's such an elite underwater swimmer. And there aren't that many of them in this race, but I do think she's able to get out in front potentially for that first 15 meters. And I don't know. I'm pulling for her, but I do think it's going to be Catherine and Reagan.
Yeah, I mean, as we've said before, 50 kind of a crapshoot. They're certainly favorites, but there are opportunities to get your hand on the wall first. If one little thing goes wrong, that can kind of ruin a race. Backstroke basket can't do it. If you're listening to this and can do it, let me know in the comments. Men's 50 backstroke. A lot of kind of blossoming names here, highlighted by the number 2 seed Quentin McCarty. He's been 24-4 already this season. He's looked great racing a few times in long course. He had a stellar NCAA season as well. I think he might be one of the fastest 50-yard backstrokers of all time as well, if I'm not mistaken. I can't keep track of it, but he's up there. But then top seed Shane Casas, it'll be really interesting to see what events he ends up swimming at trials and then what events he ends up qualifying in. But if both of those guys swim this event, I think they are leagues ahead of this field. You got Michael Andrew at 3rd seed, Notre Dame's Tommy Janton at 4th seed, and Michigan's Jack Wilkening at 5th seed. They're all entered at 25 O's. Behind them, again, could be an interesting field, but if Q and Shane Casas both compete in this event, I think it's theirs to lose in terms of qualification. Brendan?
Yeah, I think there are a lot of great names in this field, a lot of great backstroke names, but I think most of those names kind of lend themselves more to the 100 and 200 backstroke. I like Shane to win this event. He's been as fast as 24 flat, I believe. So I think that's clearly the fastest time in the field. And then Quentin McCarty, kind of reminiscent of another Wolfpack backstroker, Justin Ress. I think he's got that sprint speed. They really know what they're doing down there in the sprint backstroke world. So I like him to take the 2nd spot.
Sophie, any other thoughts?
I mean, no, I agree with what's been said, and I think this will be, if Costa swims both, the back end of 100 double with the 100 butterfly. I don't think that would necessarily be a huge issue for him, especially with the field that's here. But again, it's like just interesting to bring up in how he's going to approach this meet and as a build up for World Championships and where he really is going to want to focus. I think if he's not in this field, the race gets a lot more wide open very quickly, because I do think that if he swims it, he'll win. But if he doesn't, then I don't know. I mean, is Michael Andrew going to qualify? Is Michael Andrew going to do the double and do both of these? Or is he going to scratch this too? If that happens, it's complete chaos.
We've certainly seen Michael Andrew do doubles before, especially with 50s. He was the first man to qualify for all 4 50A finals at a World Championships. So it's happened before, but we shall see. Next up, women's 400 freestyle. It's Katie Ledecky. It's Claire Weinstein. The Claire Weinstein's 5 seconds ahead of number 3 seed Jillian Cox. Those are my picks. And again, should be a great race behind them, but I think they're both having great seasons. Claire Weinstein just went 401 in Fort Lauderdale, I believe. So they're both on form. Do you guys see any disruptors in this field? Sophie?
I'm not going to argue with that. No, I mean, in the same way that Kate Douglas's 25-3 kind of got overshadowed, Claire Weinstein's 401 was happening in the background to that epic race between McIntosh and Ledecky. But a 401 is a 401. That was a really big lifetime best for her, and she's kind of locked herself in as the favorite for that 2nd spot.
Yeah, no, I agree with you there. I think we can move on from this women's 400 free. Men's 400 free is going to be a bit more of an exciting race, I think, in terms of qualification and who's going to get their hand on the wall first. Traditionally, a weaker event for the U.S. men. We might see someone break through and get on that podium. I think the last time someone medaled in it was Kieran Smith in Tokyo, on the international stage at least. Brendan, who do you like in this men's 400 free race?
Yeah, I mean, this race is kind of purgatory for the U.S. men, where it's had some incredible moments. I mean, the 400 at trials, the past 2 times have been some of the most exciting trials races we've ever seen, between the teenager hometown hero Aaron Shackle making the team last summer in Indy, and then 4 years ago in Omaha, Jake Mitchell having to swim a time trial. One of the most unique, unexpected, exciting things to ever happen at U.S. Olympic trials. But then you look at the international results for the U.S. men in this event, and it's pretty grim. 1 bronze medal in the last 10 plus years or so. Excuse me, since Rio.
Yeah.
Connor Dwyer was bronze in Rio, but almost a decade of pretty much 1 medal internationally. Aaron Shackle has been kind of a question mark all year long. He's been swimming pretty well, but I don't think it's been anything outstanding. Hard to bet against him. Another hometown meet for him in Indianapolis. He'll probably get to sleep in his home bed. That's always a big advantage. And then behind him, I like Kieran. He's been so consistent. Again, another guy that's really tough to bet against, but I could see Carson Foster if he sticks with it, or Rex Maurer. Either of those two Texas guys, they've been electric in this 400, 500 distance. I mean, we go back to November, December when both of them took the short course American record down a few notches in the span of about an hour. So I like Aaron and Kieran, but don't be surprised if Carson or Rex find their way onto this team.
Sophie, your picks for this one?
Yeah, I mean, I'm really interested to see if Carson swims it, because I think if he swims it, then it is hard to not, at least for me, to like not pencil in like a Texas 1-2 with Carson and Rex. They had a really exciting race at the Longhorn Invite a couple weeks ago, both clearly on form. That was a personal best for Rex Maurer by a significant amount of time. This is Texas's bread and butter. David Johnson, number 3. This was where an event he first broke out in when he qualified for Worlds a couple of years ago. I don't think that Luke Hobson down at 14 is really going to be as much of a factor here as he will be in the 200, where he kind of runs the table, but he could surprise. I don't know. I mean, I think that Kieran has been like a staple in this event for so long that I would have to go with like him and Rex Maurer. But if Carson swims this, then he could easily win.
Yeah, nah, I'm horns up for me on this one. You've got between David Johnson, Carson Foster, and Rex Maurer at 3, 4, and 5. I think two of them, they'll kind of use their Longhorn brotherhood and will their way to two top 2 finishes in this final, is what I'm going with. And that's obviously pending Carson swimming it. Women's 100 breast. We've got the usual suspects or similar suspects from the 50 breast, a bit of a different order. Sophie, who do you see as a top 2 finish here?
I think this is hard. Like, I still don't want to bet against Lily King, but like the UVA women are here. Emma Weber is not a surprise anymore after she was the surprise top second place finisher at Olympic trials last year. She was a few tenths from that 106.1 lifetime best in Fort Lauderdale already. So she's clearly feeling good. Kate Douglas and Alex Walsh are going to be trying to unseat her. And then the list just keeps going with, again, like the similar suspects from the 50 breaststroke with Mackenzie Soroki, Skylar Smith, Piper Engie. They're down there in 8th. So I think I would go with Lily King and Emma Weber. But again, this is another event where you like make the picks and you look at who you have left off and you're like, I don't feel great about that.
Brendan, what picks are you not going to feel great about in this one?
Yeah, I'm going to feel bad about leaving at least 2 of the Breaststroke U members out. At University of Virginia, by the way. So I'm going to go with Lily, and I'm going to go with Emma Weber. But yeah, leaving Kate Douglas and Alex Walsh out of an event feels really, really wrong. But I'm going to stick with my picks for that one.
If this meet was held in any other pool aside from the Nat in Indianapolis, I think I would bet against Lily King in this 100 breast, but it's at the Nat. She's making that team. And I picked Kate Douglas in the 50 breast, so I'm going to stay consistent here. Again, if she swims it, I think she'll get it. I think it'll be the 100 breast. And if not, Emma Weber just had such a great showing in Fort Lauderdale after an NCAA season that I don't think it was what she wanted. She's back to long course. She loves long course. I'll go with the Olympian in that one. Men's 100 breast, the turmoil of our comment section. All right, Brendan, I'm just going to toss this softball to you. Tell me about it. What do you think?
Spin a wheel, close your eyes, and throw a dart. No, but actually, Matheny feels safe, but then again, he's a top seed, but then again, he missed the team in the 100 last summer. Michael Andrew feels safe. He's the American record holder, but then again, this is not a 50, so it's a little, you got to factor that in. AJ Pouch, another great name. Brian Benzing, another great name. Campbell McKean, Nate German-Prey. I have absolutely no idea I'm going to take Matheny. I think he's kind of been the most consistent. I think he will want to avenge that 100 breaststroke miss from last summer. Then behind him, if Michael Andrews on, I think it's his. But if it isn't, then probably AJ. I don't know. I'm going to go Matheny and AJ.
All right. Sophie, picks.
Yeah, I'm going with Josh.
Commentary. Go ahead.
I'm going with Josh Matheny, and I like Nate Germonprez for the second spot. You know, he talked this year about how he was really focusing on breaststroke seriously for the first time. He wasn't doing that during his freshman season at Texas, and we saw him make really big drops really quickly, and then just kind of keep getting better in yards. So I think we've only really scratched the surface of what he can do in the long course breaststroke pool, and I think the 100 is his best chance to get on the world's team this year, and kind of going to be that sweet spot for him. So I think in such an open event, why not?
Why not? My hot take for this one is going to be someone's going 58. I think we will see a 58 100 breaststroke. I think it'll renew the swimming fans' faith in U.S. men's breaststroke, at least for the purposes of the 400 medley relay. I think there's a high chance that we'll see it from Josh Matheny. He's had a good trajectory. Again, he just missed out on making the Olympic team in this event last year. He's been 59.2. We also, Michael Andrew could dip back down. He has a best of 58 low, American record holder at 58.1. So I think we will see a 58, and I see Josh Matheny and Michael Andrew making this team. All right, next up, women's 100 backstroke. Again, to me, this is a fairly cut and dry event. Reagan Smith, Catherine Burkhoff, top two seeds. Both have been 57. Reagan Smith has been 57 low. She's the world record holder. Behind them, you've got a couple more Wolfpacks and Leah Shackley, Kennedy Noble, Ryan White, who have all been 58 mid to 59 low. Claire Curzan's behind them at 59 low as well. So I think a lot of exciting things in this event, but I think Burkhoff and Smith are the obvious picks. Any other highlights from either of you on this event?
I mean, I think it's interesting that Bella Sims is here. Excuse me. I don't think that she's going to challenge for this team, but she swam a lifetime best 1003 in Fort Lauderdale, and I think she's the 14th seed. So it'll be interesting to see if she can be the next woman to break the 1 minute mark in this event. You know, in this field that does not guarantee you even a spot in the final at this point. But I think her backstroke was a bright spot for her during this yard season. So I'm looking for that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Bella's entered in 8 events. Bella Sims has entered in a lot of events. Really interested to see which she ends up actually swimming, and which she ends up, contesting seriously and making finals in as well. Men's 100 back. Brendan, I'm going to let you get the ball rolling on this one. Who do you like?
Yeah, I mean, pretty similar to the men's 200 backstroke, except now we do have Shane Casas in the mix. I like him to win. And then I think, similar to my analysis of the 200 backstroke, it's Jack Aiken's time. I think he's just, his yard season wasn't great. But then again, he's never really been great at yards. He has settled way more in long course meters. I think he will be coming into this meet hot, and I think it will be a Casas Aikens one too. I think it's going to be an interesting A final. A lot of turnover from the past couple of trials finals. So, maybe we'll see some youngsters up there. David King sitting at 11th. He's kind of had a hot year. We'll see if he can sneak into the top 8. A couple other big names. Jack Wilkening was really good in trials last year. Maybe he can find his way up into that top 3. But I think it's a pretty cut and dry Shane Casas, Jack Aikens.
Well, like you said, Brendan, a lot of turnover. No Ryan Murphy, no Hunter Armstrong, no Justin Ress. So a lot of America's top backstrokers.
Cheney.
No Adam Cheney. No Adam Cheney?
No Adam Cheney.
A lot of backstrokers missing from this. But I really hope Shane swims this. I really hope we see him maybe pop a 52 mid maybe even 52 low. I don't want to get too excited, but I don't even care if he swims it individually, but I think that medley relay could really use a strong backstroke leadoff on the last day of competition. So we'll see. All right, moving on to the women's mile. Katie Ledecky, obviously number one pick. Sophie, who do you have for number two?
I think it has to be Jillian Cox again. I mean, I think kind of repeating what we talked about before, like Grimes is a little bit more of a question mark than I think she usually is in these distance freestyle events. She is the second seed, 15:57. She's been faster than that before, but not for a while. Jillian Cox has just been so good and so consistently fast that I think I'll take her to do the double with the 800 and the 1500.
Yeah, Brendan.
Similar to the 800 one woman show at the races for a second. I kind of like the Cox pick as well. Grimes is a question mark. She could totally make it. She's proven that she has in the past, but I like Cox. I like Ledecky and Cox.
Yeah, no, I think that's a solid pick. So let's move on to the women's 200 IM, where again, it's the UVA show. Kate Douglas and Alex Walsh, top two seeds. Although there's been some noise that Kate Douglas wouldn't swim this event. She's entered in it. If she doesn't, Tori Husk is the third seed, and she also might swim it, might not swim it. She's gone both ways, and depending on the meet, depending on the trial situation and doubles. What do you see here, Sophie?
Yeah, I mean, there are a lot of question marks at the top, right? I think like kind of fueling that Kate Douglas rumor is that I don't think she has swum this event yet this season. And we've seen her pick this event over the 50 free before, and maybe she's tired of that and she wants to do the 50 free where she is also the American record holder. So if she does swim it, I think it's a pretty clear 1-2 with her and Alex Walsh. They've kind of have had this event sewn up for a long time. If she doesn't and Tori doesn't, that really opens the door for a lot of different people. Isabel Ivy, Beta Nelson, Leah Hayes, and then further down you do have again that Stanford squad who have looked so good already this season that they could surprise. And especially if Caroline Bricker makes the 400 IM and is feeling good, then you could pencil her in for the second spot in the 200 IM as well. I think 400 IM is her best chance, but if the 1 and 3 seed aren't there, then this does get really wide open.
Yeah. No, yeah, I think it's all dependent on if Kate Douglas and Tori Husk decide to swim or not to swim this event. But if they both do, or certainly if Kate Douglas does, I think it's a pretty clear 1-2. Let's toss it to the men's 200 IM, where again, it seemingly we have a clear 1-2 in Carson Foster and Shane Casas. Any other names you're going to be looking for in that one, Brendan?
Yeah, I like Shane. I like Carson. Kieran's right there. He's been really close to making an international team this event for a couple of years now. Owen McDonald in 4th and Nate Germanprey in 5. I really like as well. They both had pretty good NCAA seasons, and they could see a big drop here. But I do think, unfortunately, it's just going to kind of be a race between Carson and Shane.
Yeah, I think as you mentioned earlier, Brendan, you got Baylor Nelson, who is now at Texas, down there at the 13th seed. There's some interesting names behind, but I think the 200 IM is kind of one of those events where you have the top and then you really have everyone else. And right now, Carson and Shane are at the top, and everyone else is just in that subsection behind them. So it seems a little more cut and dry than some other events. Men's 800 freestyle, again, can't bet against Bobby Fink. If you want to, let me know. I will take that bet. But if not, Sophie, who do you have as your number 2 pick in this?
Yeah, I mean, this was interesting because it kind of looked like after trials last year that this was kind of locked up with Bobby Fink and Luke Whitlock after he went 7:45. Whitlock is another Paris Olympian who won't be in the field this year. So the cards have kind of been thrown up again. David Johnston and Rex Maurer, again, the Texas swimmers. Luke Ellis, who we talked about in the 1500, could also push here. I think it's been exciting to watch Alec Enyart swim this season. He's been the best he's ever been. I think that 754 is a lifetime best or pretty close to it. So it'll be interesting to see if he can kind of continue riding that like wave of momentum here, like at the qualification meet.
Yeah, Alec Enyart was at Texas. I don't know what happened, if he got cut or if he just left on his own accord. But he's now back training at Tsunami Swim Club out of Kansas City, or Tsunami Swim Team, sorry. And so, but yeah, as you said, Sophie, he seems to be having a good season, training back at his home team. So interesting to see what he might do. He's fifth seed in this. Brendan, your pick for number 2 in this men's 800.
Yeah, I mean, David Johnston, Rex Maurer, Luke Ellis, and Charlie Clark are all separated by about 2 seconds. So I think that race 4 second is going to be thrilling. This 800 free, both domestically and internationally, has been absolutely awesome ever since it was introduced at the Tokyo Olympics. So for the number 2 spot, Rex Maurer recently went a 751 at that Longhorn Invite, I believe. Mm-hmm. So for recency bias, I'm going to go with him. But again, I could see really any one of those 2nd through 5th guys making the team.
Yeah, his best time before that meet was an 8:10.
Yeah, I mean, he's hot.
He's hot. Moving. All right, let's move right along to the women's 50 free, which looks very similar to the women's 100 free, but obviously a lot less spots up for grabs. Sophie, who do you like here in this women's splash and dash?
I just think it's really hard to bet against Gretchen Walsh right now. She's been on fire, and maybe this event is like her 4th or 5th best event at this point. But I think 24:0, like she has what it takes to get it done. Kate Douglas is here at 6. Again, she is the American record holder, so if she's here, it's hard to not pencil in another UVA 1-2 with her and Gretchen, but Tori Husk, if she swims it, of course, and Simone Manuel are capable of making the team in this event. So another one where you don't feel great about who you're leaving off the roster, but if both the UVA girls are on, I think I'd take them.
Brendan, who you got?
Yeah, I mean, I like Gretchen to make the team. Kate Douglas somehow in 6th at 24:6, even though her American record time is 23:9. It's a little bit misleading there. If she swims it, I like her a little bit more than Tori and Simone. But again, this is another event where you pick 2 and then you feel bad about leaving off 3. So I like the 2 UVA stars, but there's going to be that'll probably get blown up in my face. So
when did Tori go 24:09? Does anyone know? Because that's insane.
I think it's probably trials last year, right? Maybe no, because that would have made the team.
Yeah, she didn't make the team in that. I don't know. It's not really that important right now. It's just crazy that Gretchen has been 24:0. Tori has been 20.
Trial semifinals.
Okay. So Tori's been 24:0. Simone has been 23:9, but seated at 24:1. And then Kate, again, has been 23:9. It's like the top end speed is just sensational in this race. Gretchen literally been on fire this season. So I'm not going against her, but I'm going to go with Simone for the number 2 pick. She's had a great season, moving down to Austin, still training with Bob Bowman. She's been 24 low, I think, this season already. She didn't have a great showing in Fort Lauderdale, but definitely bounced back at the Longhorn Invite a couple weeks later. Has said she's had some of the best training of her life this season. Just knows how to get it done historically. And if Simone's in a good headspace, I like her chances at a trials situation. So I'm going Gretchen and Simone for the women's 50 free. Men's 50 free. It could be a really good race. We've got 3 guys all seated at 21.7. That's tied for 3rd behind, again, the sprint duo of Giuliano and Alexi. I'm really interested to hear what you guys have to say. Brendan, thoughts on men's 50 free?
Yeah. Final event of the meet. It's always weird. Last summer with the multiple swim offs for that 8th place spot, it was electric, super memorable. Even if that didn't happen, it would have been a super memorable race. Chris Giuliano was the top seed, first American man since Matt Biondi to make the 50, 100, and 200 freestyle individually. Um, Jack Alexi is another really strong name. He was a medalist at Worlds 2 years ago. I like Jack Alexi to win this event. He's just been really strong in the sprint. I think he has the most experience. And then there is Michael Andrew there. He's made this event before for a major international team, but we don't. He's always just kind of a big question mark in this event. Sometimes he's been on, sometimes he's been off. I'm going to go with Jack Alexi, and I like Chris to get second.
Mm-hmm. Sophie, any departure from that?
No, no departure from that. I mean, I think that there are a lot of other exciting names. You know, Johnny Kulo, again, was part of that electric swim-off event. Quentin McCarty, we talked about before in the 50 backstroke. He's clearly feeling good. You know, this seems like it's going to be Ryan Held's like swan song. He's here, but only in this event. So you want him to, if this is indeed like his last professional swimming event, you would hope that this is going to end on like a high note for him. So it would be cool to see him get back on the world championship team. So I think there's a lot of really interesting storylines to follow in what we think is going to be the final. But I think it is hard to argue with Jack and Chris for the top 2 spots.
I'm with you guys. I'm not departing from that. We haven't seen a ton from Michael Andrew in this event in terms of like really solid information to put him over the top of Chris and Jack, especially because they're just younger, right? And they're kind of more on the rise. Michael Andrew, I'm guessing, you know, definitely later in his career, just in terms of age. And he's been a freaking pro since he was at 14 or something, 13 or 14. Ryan Held, excited to see him at this meet, but he lives in New York now. I don't think he's been training seriously. Maybe he's been doing stuff on his own and really honing that sprint speed. But yeah, not quite sure how much we'll see from him. 15th seed, Santo Condorelli, always keeping things exciting there. I don't know if he'll even make the final, let alone I don't think he'll get a top 2 spot, but excited to see him nonetheless, the most interesting man in U.S. swimming. And that is the entire psych sheet for the 2025 U.S. trials. Thanks so much for sticking with us. And thank you, Brendan and Sophie, for sticking out for this podcast. I'm going to finish up with just a couple quick sink or swims. First up, will we see a world record at this meet? Brendan?
Yes. I don't know which event, but that feels fast. It'll be an exciting atmosphere. 2 years ago was exciting. And I mean, too many people have been on form in this post-Olympic year to bet against it. You know, who knows if it's actually going to happen, but something about this post-Olympic year where people are always less stressed out and they're just more fluid, more loose. They're more excited to race if they're here. So I'm going to say yes.
Sophie?
Yeah, I'm going to say yes, too. I said no to a U.S. Open record in Fort Lauderdale. I've learned my lesson. There will be a world record. You know, I can't remember if Gretchen had a long finish on both her 50 and 100 fly, but she did on one of them. So it definitely feels like we haven't seen her go as fast as she can yet, which feels ridiculous to say given how fast she's been. But swim, yeah, we'll see a world record.
I got to sink it. I think Fort Lauderdale was a special meet. And I also think everyone there was super loose. We know what a trials meet is like. Everyone's tense. Everyone is trying to get on that team and trying to qualify. I think we'll see a lot of fast swimming, but I don't quite think we will see a world record specifically from Gretchen or Katie. I think they'll go fast, but I don't see that one in the cards for us. But I've been wrong lots and lots before, so we shall see. You know what, y'all? It's been a long podcast. Let's cut it there. Thank you, everyone, for listening, and we will see you in Indianapolis. You've been listening to the SwimSwam podcast. Stay tuned for new episodes every week. You can take SwimSwam podcast on the go by subscribing on your favorite podcast platform. Look for links in the description below, and be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel for more videos as well.